Welcome to the Global Experience. We explore the intersection of transformation and innovation with customer service and collections and the evolving world of customer and employee experience. Join keynote speakers, industry mavericks, CX and debt collections experts and influencers as we uncover what's shaping the future. Let's get into it. Welcome to this special edition of the Global Experience. This month we're celebrating Women's Month and the inspirational leaders we get to encounter every day. Today we're joined by Rebecca Howat, Chief Operating Officer at Charles Tyrwhitt. Rebecca, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Nice to have you. So just to start us off, you've been with Charles Tyrwhitt for 12 years, as per your LinkedIn. And you've grown from head of merchandising to COO today, which is a serious growth trajectory. Would love some insight into that journey that it took you on, and how you encountered it and how you accomplished it.
Yeah, sure. So you're absolutely right. My background is merchandising, a passion, if you like. It's something that still sits very much at the core of what I do. I came into Charles Tyrwhitt, which is very much a marketing-led, direct sales business, certainly is today and was back then. And I was brought in as head of merchandising to kind of elevate that department and function, because I always describe it was a bit like sellotape and string holding it together. There wasn't process, there wasn't structure, systems, there just wasn't anything in place. So I came in to kind of create that, which was a super, I definitely had moments where I felt like I bit off more than I could chew, for sure. And a very different business to where I'd worked previously. I'd always been in women's wear, fast fashion, never done men's, and menswear is very different to women's wear. We're much more of a, continuity core product that's sold. It's not fashion led. So very different in those principles as well. So that was kind of the beginning of the journey. And definitely I encountered some challenges along the way there. And I think I've been really fortunate that I've met some great leaders in that business along the way, not only to mention as well our founder and chair, Nick Wheeler, who is so inspirational. The business is 40 years old this year, and he set that up himself.
Wow.
So, having had various managers, reports, people I worked alongside, I sort of got into the warehousing operational side, which honestly, I never thought I would go down that route. I thought I would have gone more into the buying, design, a CPO role. But actually, I think what was great was a guy I worked very closely with and for initially, he definitely saw something in me that felt that could bring something to that area and that role. I didn't see that in myself first, honestly, which is quite interesting. And it's something I would always say to other people, like, listen to the feedback that you get as well around what you're good at and what your skill set is. So I took the opportunity. I'm definitely somebody that says yes when things are thrown at her. And that I definitely advocate for people trying to grow up through a business. Not say yes to everything, but do things that take you out of your comfort zone. So doing warehouse operations was certainly that. Turns out I actually really enjoyed it. And that then led to me taking on customer service as well, which is super important, hence our relationship. And also, I've taken on what we call our third party business. So it's part of where our sales line sits outside of our core business. And we have relationships with marketplaces, for example, in the UK, a Marks and Spencer's, a John Lewis, in the US, a Nordstrom. We work with Middle East partners. We work with partners in India. We've got partners in South Africa too. So I look after that sales line bit. So I've got quite a diverse role. And ultimately, the steps that have got me to those places and joining the board 7 years ago now was pushing myself to do things that I've never done before that I didn't actually realize I would enjoy. So trying them out for size. It was listening to good advice that I was given along the way, not taking everything, but certainly listening and asking a lot of questions. Because when you've been the specialist in your area, like you are as a head of merchandising, you don't know everything, but you know a lot and you're very
Mm.
confident in what you do. I'd never looked at a warehouse. I'd never worked in a call center. I've not worked with third-party suppliers and customers. So no matter how senior you are, it's important that you ask questions all the time, and then you can learn. And I don't expect anybody to know the answer to everything, and I don't expect myself to know the answer to everything. So I would say also make sure you ask a lot of questions.
Okay, so wow, so I completely get you. Like you can always be very comfortable knowing what you know in like the merchandising area because you're a specialist at that. And it takes a bit of guts to venture out into more of an unknown area. Would you say it's an element of confidence that you had in yourself that made you successful in learning new areas very quickly and leading as you did it? What would you say would be down to that? Or would you say it's more, or not necessarily an or, but an and of the role models that have helped you along, giving you advice that you said you weren't always needing to take, but just listening?
Yeah.
Which would you say played more of a part in that?
I think I project a very confident image. I think if you ask most people, they would say I'm confident. I think I am genuinely quite a confident person, but I definitely have moments where I question myself, where I doubt. And I think it's something that you work on as you mature, both mature in age, but also just as in somebody in business. Um, there's there's a study that's kicked around for a really long time about men and women that basically says, and it's been reviewed multiple times, and that when a woman goes for a job, she thinks she has to have 100% of the criteria to apply for a role, whereas a man generally thinks he only sort of needs 60%. So if he's got 60% of the criteria, he will go for that role. More often than not, a woman won't do it. And I think what I've learned is every single person has to do something for the first time. So I think so often people look at somebody and think, God, they know exactly what they're doing. They don't always, and they had to always do it once for the first time. And someone didn't just wake up and become a CEO. Someone just wake up and become a head of or a manager. They've had to go through that process of managing a team for the first time, of working in a new department for a first time, of learning about a new system, a process. And I think so often people just assume everybody knows everything. So I think I definitely try and humanize it by the fact that we all start off in the same boat. People aren't necessarily above one another. Somebody might be sharper or get somewhere quicker, but everybody has different skill sets. So I think in answer to your question, yes, confidence, but also realizing that I'm in a safe space. I'm very fortunate to work for an amazing business where culture is king, absolutely. And I felt that I was mentored and supported too. So I think I had both things, and I had the confidence and realizing that I wasn't expected to walk into the warehouse or the contact center or, sales with Marks and Spencers and know all the answers off the bat. It's how you learn.
I think that's such a humble approach that you've taken there but also a realistic approach in that you completely agree. I completely agree with you in terms of you look at the CEOs also of Newton, of many other companies that I've engaged with. And there is an element that you put them on a pedestal because of the position that they're in. But
Yeah.
everyone is as human as the other. Everyone is mostly trying to figure things out. No one knows 100% of everything. So I guess it is just about giving yourself that grace and also that confidence that you don't need to, as you said, know 100% of a role in order to apply for it. 60% is more than enough because that 40% is down to figuring it out. It's down to experience. It's down to learning, what you have to do in order to grow yourself. But I'm very curious. Before you said you don't take every piece of advice that you're given. what is a very good piece of advice that you were given that you did take and that you never regretted taking?
I have said no to things. So was offered to do HR as well before I took on some of the other areas I have now. And I was very much encouraged to do so because it gave me the opportunity to kind of have people in its fullest form under my remit. And people's a big thing for me. But it's just something that I really, really didn't feel passionate about. And whilst I've turned my hand to a number of things, I felt like it was going to take me down much more of just a purely operational route rather than an opportunity to look at sales and the commercial side. So despite good advice of, it's another string to your bow, it's just another great piece to have under your remit, I said no. And it worked out just fine. I ended up doing something different as well. And, I think it's important that you do say no sometimes. Know
I
what your
love that.
boundary is. Know what your non-negotiables. We've all got some non-negotiables. We have them in our personal life. So it's okay to have them in your work life as well.
And how do you balance your love for people and operating as an operator, the chief of the operators, within Charles Tyrwhitt, managing, because the operating model can often see very resource based and very machine like.
Sure.
How do you blend the people element that is your passion into that?
Yeah. I think that, Charles Tyrwhitt is at the core of our business. We are very, very commercial. And that's a big reason why we have been the success we are today. That said, we also marry that with our core values around people. And people sit in every element of what we consider and what we do. And we speak about it. We don't try and overcomplicate it in the sense that just doing the right thing. I think more often than not, if you ask yourself that question, you know what the right thing to do is. And I think you can blend the right margins, the cost cutting, etc., alongside the people piece. And the big thing for me is, you are only as good as your team. So if you don't invest in the right people, the right training, the right development, giving them the experience that they should have, you won't succeed, because I can't do this on my own. If I didn't have the teams that I had underneath me, I'd be nothing, literally, So I do think that you can marry the two. That said, you also have to make some cold, hard commercial decisions sometimes. COVID was a really, really tough time for a lot of businesses. Some flourished. Being a formal menswear business when everybody goes home is not one that you want to be in COVID. And, we had to make some tough decisions around the business. And and that's not, when you have to remove roles and you reduce your headcount, you've got to take costs out. That's tough. But I think you can do it in the right way. Information is key. As much transparency as you can share, I think is also important. And rather than just giving somebody the end result, I think taking them on the journey and explaining the reasons and rationale for things is really, really important, because then people buy into the journey as well.
And if you take yourself back a couple of years, and you are that woman that is taking the next step in their career, either starting out or going through a transition phase, in light of International Women's Day that's coming up, and Women's Month that we will be in when this is published, what is that piece of advice that you would offer a younger Rebecca?
There's a phrase that says comparison is the thief of joy. And I would say, stop looking at everybody else and benchmark yourself on your own goals. I think in today's world as well, like young women, social media, there's always somebody else doing something that perception wise looks better than what you're doing. And I think it's super important to focus on yourself, focus on what you want to achieve, and stop comparing yourself to other people. And I think when you stop doing that, you realize your goals will really come quicker.
Brilliant. Thank you, Rebecca. Appreciate your time today. I think you're an inspiration to everyone out there that you're taking control of a luxury men's fashion brand, excelling at it, owning your environment, and really appreciate you on this podcast and also your partnership with Newton. So thank you.
Thank you, Bryce. It's been great chatting with you.
You've been listening to The Global Experience. Conversations that connect innovation, strategy, and transformation across customer service, collections, and experience. Stay inspired, stay customer-centric, and keep driving the change that matters. Until next time, this has been The Global Experience.